Coming up this hour, President Trump said he could be seeking $23 million from the Justice Department as compensation for past investigations into him. We'll discuss this and more in today's Top Stories. I'm Ernie Manouse.
And I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman. We'll also be joined by Nikhil Nayak, the president and CEO of Gulf Coast Blood, who will tell us about how blood donations are being used for medical research.
Plus, we'll learn about the woman-led immersive art installation, The Fragility of the Creative Mind, which will be on display during the annual Afrotech Conference next week.
Also, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Wide-ranging illegal gambling and sports betting investigations linked to major organized crime families are resulting in charges against dozens of people, including some of the most prominent figures in the NBA. The Justice Department's announced that Portland Trail Blazers head coach and Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups was arrested in Oregon. Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier was arrested in Florida. They're both expected to appear in federal court today. As FBI Director Kash Patel describes it, the extent of wire fraud and money laundering offenses is staggering.
The fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Former NBA player Damon Jones was also arrested. Federal authorities say the NBA has cooperated with the investigations. European Union leaders are in Brussels today to discuss Ukraine. They are heartened by President Trump's decision to sanction 2 Russian oil companies. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports Europe has also been sanctioning Moscow.
The Trump administration sanctioned 2 major Russian oil companies just as the EU approved its 19th round of sanctions on Russia. Manfred Weber is head of the largest party in the European Parliament. He had a message for the continent's right-wing politicians who still think greater efforts should be made to negotiate with the Russian president.
Even Trump tried it now to please and to invite Putin to come to the negotiation table. Putin has only one interest, and that is destroying our European way of life.
At the summit, EU leaders are discussing using Russia's immobilized assets in Belgium as collateral for issuing a $162 billion loan to Ukraine. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
The public's now learning that the entire East Wing of the White House is coming down. NPR's Tamara Keith reports this is an expansion of the scope of President Trump's White House ballroom project.
The East Wing was built during World War II and has been modified over the years. Until recently, it housed the offices of the First Lady's staff. Explaining that it needed to be torn down, President Trump downplayed its significance.
It was never thought of as being much. It was a very small building.
Trump said it didn't make sense to save the East Wing at the expense of the massive new ballroom he has planned.
In order to do it properly, we had to take down the existing structure.
Images of excavators tearing into a wing of the White House have set off alarms for groups concerned with historic preservation. The White House says preservation work was done and calls the controversy, quote, pearl clutching. Tamara Keith, NPR News.
It's NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. Police are saying this morning 2 children died last night in the Greenpoints area, and 2 adults were injured after a fire in a townhome. Houston Fire Department was dispatched just before midnight and encountered heavy flames on arrival. The 2 children were found dead inside the home. The children's grandparents had tried to rescue them. They suffered injuries and ended up being taken to Memorial Hermann Hospital. The Arson Division and the Homicide Division are involved in the investigation. The Harris County Jail will receive another feasibility study to address aging infrastructure. News 88.7's Sarah Gruno says it comes a few years after the county received another assessment to get the jail back into compliance with the state's minimum standards.
Harris County commissioners voted last week to authorize negotiations with CGL Management Group LLC for a jail feasibility study. The assessment is expected to address capacity issues and aging infrastructure. Commissioner Rodney Ellis said that the county will have to build a new jail at some point.
Look, we're looking at spending a significant amount on building a new jail at some point. And at some point, we'll have to do it. That mousetrap is just not working the way it was intended to work. But we ought to be thoughtful about how we do it.
Commissioners cut a similar deal for an assessment of the jail in 2023 to address ongoing non-compliant orders from the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. The county was found to be out of compliance with the state again last week. I'm Sarah Gruno, News 88.7.
Checking your weather, mostly sunny with a slight chance of afternoon showers today, high of 86 degrees. Tonight, mostly clear and breezy with an overnight low of 71. Right now, mostly clear with a few clouds, 79 degrees on the UH campus. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from ARM, committed to delivering innovative, advanced computing designed to enable worldwide companies to unleash the capabilities and experiences of AI. The future of AI is built on ARM. ARM.com. This is NPR.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870. Or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
I use this joke all the time. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Frank has the day off, so you just get to wander through your day with Celeste and Ernie today.
Celeste and Ernie.
You know.
Yes, but speaking of our Ernie, a congratulations is in order.
What for?
Ernie, congratulations. OutSmart's Magazine 2025 Reader's Choice Award winner is, drumroll please, favorite male community TV personality, Ernie Manouse.
It's me.
You won.
Yeah, you know what? It's my 22nd win. I think they're consecutive. In the beginning, I may have. In the beginning, like a few times, Frank and I split the award. Years and years ago.
Which is amazing to now think that now y'all are hosting a show together.
Yeah. We also got nominated together in a couple other categories, but I got to bring home the prize for us. And I know you bring this up because tonight they are actually presenting the, I guess they're having a celebration of the winners. They don't really present. And so we're doing that at South Beach tonight, and they asked me to MC
You're going to be emceeing it. So will you present yourself with that?
No, it's not. It's like there's entertainment, and we talk a little bit. OutSmart has started their own foundation, and they're raising money to help ensure that independent journalism and community reporting continues, because we're in such a time where it's troublesome. Yeah. So they're kind of like a localized community version of what we kind of do on this scale for the whole
Ernie,
city.
How long has OutSmart been putting out a periodical?
I could be off. I think they started in 94. I think the first one came out. So I think like 32 years, or 31 years.
I'm always fascinated when you have, an organization that is providing a platform and what was happening in 94 that a group came together and said, we're going to put out a magazine, and this is going to showcase, highlight, our community doing great things in Houston.
Speaking for Greg Zhu, which I was not asked to do, nor do I actually have all the answers, and he is the publisher and editor of it. Yeah. I believe it came out of, there used to be a lot of what we've called neighborhood rags, and they're still like the community newspapers of today. Yeah. But in the Montrose, they had a number of these, and OutSmart came along to be more of a news magazine involving the LGBTQ plus community, looking at stories and accomplishments and covering the news more so than what we called bar rags that told you know what's happening at the bars this night and what's going on there and what. And they have kept the path, and they are a beautifully published magazine. That, of course, difficult times as periodicals are having a hard time. But it's important that voices like that exist. I know of a bunch of different people that have different magazines or newspapers in different communities, the Village News and Southwest News covering their area and their community. All throughout our community, we have these. A lot of them have been bought up by conglomerates that do these local newspapers and such. But it's important we all have our voices heard. And 100%. I think that's what we do on this show every day. And we do it on a larger platform because we have the ability to broadcast, broad being the operative word. And so it's a joy to continue to tell the rich history and stories of Houston as they happen.
Absolutely.
Because this is our archive.
I love it. I love it. And congratulations. Absolutely.
Now, I know you can't do this, but I'll ask you anyway. So what's the weather like, Celeste?
Well, it was beautiful this morning. Yeah. I mean, I have been following, the weather, not clearly as sophisticated
as Frank does.
But I have been watching. It looks like we're going to have quite a few storms happening on Saturday.
It's going to get a little rough out there.
So be safe.
I guess it's got to get rough before the calm.
Yes.
And the weather is feeling great, and we're enjoying it. And it's fun.
It feels like fall, Ernie.
Oh, it does.
And it's nice.
I'm drinking a pumpkin spice coffee right now, so I know what you mean about fall. I get into all that. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
We also want to know what you think. Are you feeling like fall has hit you? We've got a lot of stories we're going to cover today. We invite you into all of those. We are always streaming live over on YouTube. Please join that community. They are a great group of people. I kind of feel like we know them now. There's a very vocal group within there that shares and talks with us each day. So why don't you go check them out? You can do it either by going to HoustonPublicMedia.org. We stream live right there, or go to YouTube and look for us there. Anyway, I know we're going to jump into the news, but we'll chit-chat back and forth throughout it. So start us off, Celeste.
President Donald Trump said on Tuesday that he could be seeking $230 million from his own Justice Department as compensation for past investigations into him, though he admitted he doesn't know all the details and pledged any money would go to charity. Trump filed 2 administrative claims, one linked to the Russia 2016 election probe, another tied to the Mar-a-Lago documents case. He acknowledged the unprecedented nature of the move, saying the idea of the government paying him, quote, sort of looks bad. Meanwhile, the department says any decision would be guided by its career ethics officials, even as many involved are former Trump defense attorneys now serving in senior Department of Justice roles. What are your thoughts? Should President be paid back, or should the money go to solve other problems? Now is the time to join us right now on Hello Houston. You can give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870. Well,
you'd be surprised to have an opinion on this. Would that surprise you? Not so much an opinion, but a point of clarity. He is claiming damages that these investigations damaged him, his reputation, that they caused harm. It doesn't address the fact whether or not these were accurate investigations, what the outcome of those investigations was. They were, one of the 2 of them, I do believe, was dropped. So it was never even gone through the documents case. They eventually didn't pursue it. And the Russia, as he calls it, the Russia hoax, what was decided there was that not that he was innocent of them or found not. There was some connection there. They did not, the report that was filed did not follow through all the way and said that it should be investigated further, but from what they found, they stopped it at that point. This jump is almost pushing out the narrative into the public that he was found innocent on both of these things, or found not guilty, I should say, on both of these cases. And therefore, that's why he's making this claim. The fact is not that. The fact is neither of them went to trial, none of them. Now, if this moves forward, my understanding is the Justice Department, in cases like this, what makes this unique is it's the president asking for it. But these things happen all the time.
Right.
And the Justice Department can decide to settle.
I think that what is unique.
But let me hold.
Sorry,
go
ahead. Yes,
so people follow.
Please.
If the Justice Department does not decide to settle and it moves to a court case or a hearing of some sort, then comes in the proof and validity of were these valid investigations or not. That part hasn't been adjudicated yet. So you got to keep that in mind. So a lot of it is smoke and mirrors. A lot of it is rhetoric. But he runs the Justice Department. he's the one who would have to sign off on the settlement to himself.
Yeah, I mean...
So that's where the complications come in. Okay, you were going to say, I'm sorry.
I'm looking at this more from like a 30,000-foot view in that I don't know obviously there's a lot of nuance within the cases and where it went and how it went. However, just looking at the situation as it is standing right now, its unusual nature of a Justice Department paying out a settlement to the current sitting president. And I think that is where it's showing that this isn't an internal problem. He's going against his own internal department that he essentially is not running, but it's all within his own sphere, his administration. It's all under that blanket. And so I just feel like it's almost like he's pitting himself against himself. And I just think I don't understand the logic behind it. What I do see is a president who is not afraid to go for anyone.
And in this case, himself. No, I think the motivation behind
it doesn't matter if you're within his he's going to go for you. If you've crossed him, and you feel like you've crossed him in his mind.
Oh yeah, he's going after you. Right. I think, though, what it does for him and his position is it pushes the narrative forward he was innocent of all charges. And what I'm trying to say is that's not what any of this proves.
Yeah.
And so, but putting it out there, again, says to the general audience who's not digging deep into it, he was wronged. He was asking for a settlement because he was wronged. Him being wrong hasn't been decided yet. What has been decided is he filed a suit, and anyone can file a lawsuit against anyone. These, though, if I remember, on both of these cases happened before he was reelected. So therefore, he started this beforehand. Okay. Now it's moving forward. But the oddness is he's the president. He heads the organization that he is suing.
And he's putting, honestly,
or really asking for a settlement.
Bam, Bondi, and all in a very awkward situation.
Or not. Or it's that, hey, let's just settle this. And it doesn't have to become public if a settlement is reached also.
Interesting. Let's go to the phone lines.
Spin on and on. Let's find out if somebody knows something more than we do, which I'm sure they do. 713-440-8870. Steve from Champions. Stephen, what's on your mind?
I just can't. I just wonder when everybody's going to wake up and see that the president is going to push in every direction because nobody's holding him accountable for anything. As far as the investigation into the Mar-a-Lago, there was evidence of wrongdoing there. Excuse me. And there is actual proof that Russia did interfere with the election as much as they could. And so the judicial branch doesn't seem to be able to hold this man to account, nor does, the congressional branch. When are people going to see that he's going to push the limits everywhere where he can get? If anybody doesn't know already that he is going to make sure that the next election he has an opportunity to be in it, then you're crazy, because that's what all of this is about. None of this is about what's going on now. This is about making sure that he has a way to the presidency in the next presidential election. And that's all I got for that. Thanks.
Stephen, that's a lot. Thank you very much for sharing. Let me go back. Two different things that come to mind with what Stephen just said. First of all, the whole idea that he does go after and sues and makes these claims and all of that. And how many of us really follow through to see what happens? We used to have a joke around here at the station. When you get nominated, this was my thing. When you get nominated for an Emmy, put that out everywhere. If you win or lose, nobody remembers that part. They remember seeing, Ernie had an Emmy on his thing. I mean, I did win a few. But the point being, he puts out all these lawsuits. Doesn't matter if he wins or loses. It just feeds the narrative. And let me try and articulate something a little more clearer than I said before. The fact that investigations ended or had no final conviction secured in some cases does not necessarily mean the investigations were invalid. But neither does it automatically validate Trump's claim. For example, the Mueller report explicitly stated it did not exonerate Trump of possible obstruction. These are the things that are lost when he moves a case, whatever, a lawsuit forward. And I think that's part of the game. blur what actually happened, control the narrative, and move people to believe what you want.
That's exactly why President Trump is sitting as president again, because that is what he does, and he does it excellent. He controls the narrative.
Yep, he's a master.
He puts it out there. He knows exactly what's going to get people talking. He puts people around him that will also get people talking. And so I think that it is one of those things where this is essentially textbook, a part of when we look at President Trump's strategy. This is just a part of falling into line that, he's going to go after even the Department of Justice.
We're talking about our YouTubers, and Alex contributes quite often. Alex says, Trump said the money would go to charity. Yeah, right. Laugh out loud.
Let's move on to the next topic, Ernie. And you can join the conversation at 713-440-8870.
Okay, we're coming a lot closer to home now. Houston City Council again delayed a vote on the $16 million purchase of the property at 419 Emancipation Avenue that's planned as a shelter and service hub for people experiencing homelessness. City Council members Mario Castillo and Julio Ramirez tagged the item Wednesday to allow more community input. The facility is part of Mayor John Whitmire's strategy to address street homelessness. The hub would offer up to 320 beds, 24-hour intake, mental health, and substance abuse services, and serve as a navigational point toward housing. A public meeting is scheduled for tonight at 6 p.m. at the TBH Center on South Jensen Drive for residents to voice their concerns and get more details about how the project will impact their neighborhood. So we ask you, what are your thoughts on this homeless hub? Are the community concerns valid? Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
You know, I appreciate the fact that
Julian Ramirez, I'm sorry, I stumbled a name there.
Yes, I do appreciate the fact that the mayor is wanting to have the conversation and addressing this in a holistic manner. However, I do think that people within the neighborhood have the right to be a part of the conversation.
Yes, I agree with you there. Yeah. I think it's a very difficult problem. The one thing that comes up when you do talk to communities is you will often find, yes, I think it's a problem, but don't put it in my backyard. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that that's unique. I think that's universal in all neighborhoods. So there's a lot of concern, a lot of care in this community, and a lot of concern and care that it's going to be in their backyard. But the problem is that it's got to go somewhere. You've got to put people somewhere. And I think the city's job here in Whitmire's is to show how having a facility like that in your community actually enriches the community and doesn't bring in crime and more homelessness and more vagrancy.
Right. Taking out the stigma, essentially, of homelessness. That not all people that are homeless are in that position because they want to be or because they are somehow on some type of drug or that they have some mental health issues. There are people that really just get caught out and are needing this resources and can be part of the community.
Right. I think we have a stereotypic idea of what a person who is homeless or experiencing homelessness is like. But I think we've talked about this a number of times on the show, that so many people in our own city, in our own region, are a paycheck or two away from also being without resources to have their own home. And homelessness does not automatically mean living on the streets.
Correct.
People couch surf. They're staying with relatives. They're staying with friends. They're trying to they're living in their cars. There's all different levels of how this topic is dealt with. This facility is to give an opportunity for people who do not have a place to live. And whenever I look at people who are homeless or experiencing this situation, the first thing I think is, if you can't take a shower, if you can't clean up, if you can't receive mail, if you can't have a phone, how do you start the process of getting back up on your feet? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people just need that lift to get going again.
It's interesting that you say the first thing that, to take a shower and things. I always think that. Mm-hmm. I wish I could just give them a bed to sleep in and a shower in a room just to feel safe.
Andy Warhol wrote a book called From A to B and Back Again, or somebody wrote the book under Andy Warhol's name. There was a lot of stuff going on with the factory. But in it, he talked about what they needed to do. And this was, 40 years ago. In New York City, they needed to set up showers. And that way, homeless people could get clean. And once they were clean, they could go out into the world.
And start feeling like themselves.
I've always thought about that. And it's like, as soon as you have a base. And we have wonderful shelters here in the city already.
And, the Coalition for the Homeless. We have organizations that will meet people out there and make sure that they have. Another one is transportation, Ernie.
Right. Yeah. It's a difficult
complex
problem. And hopefully we will find our way through it to, at least for this hub, for the mayor's program, see how we can understand it better. City Council has some questions about it. If you're in the community, remember the public meeting is tonight at 6 o'clock at the TBH Center on South Jensen Drive here in Houston. If you're in that community and you want to voice your concerns or you want to go and help people better understand the situation of homelessness, I think it'll be a very eye-opening experience.
That's right. And we did get a YouTube comment. Sharon Hill 55 says, what do you think about Fleet Week being canceled? We will be talking about that in
our
the
next
second hour.
We got a lot to say about that.
So we have a lot to say about that, but we do have a call on the line. Eric from East End. Eric, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the proposed shelter there on Emancipation in East End. I'm a resident.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's interesting that they want to, a cash-strapped city wants to buy an asset in the East End. As we know, the East End is experiencing gentrification, a lot of transition. Why can't the city take that money and find a property that they can lease or that they already own and use the allocation of funds more appropriately than just buying dirt in a very competitive real estate market? And quite frankly, they're buying at a premium.
A good point there.
That's a good point.
I'm curious, though, also, if you are just buying the dirt to build a facility, is that then bringing more jobs into the area and stuff like that? Or would they be possibly outsourcing that so it wouldn't necessarily impact the community directly? But I like your idea about the renovation. There's been some cool renovation in the East End, too.
Right. I mean, and full disclosure, obviously, I'm very aware of the real estate in the area. I manage a fund that allows people to invest in the area. It's Magnolia Fund. But most importantly, I look at this as the city buying assets, buying real estate. Can't we use that money on a property that we can adaptively use or that is already built out? Can't we negotiate it with that seller today that owns that property on Emancipation to lease it from us for a really good deal because we're the city and we can, maybe relieve their tax burden from an incremental perspective with the TERS. There's so many options other than just spending money on just the property, just to get into the property. We still got to put money into actually providing the services, the goods, the product, all the inventory that's going to go into helping these people.
Eric, interesting thoughts.
Yeah, it's interesting that Eric is looking at this from just a simply fiscal responsibility standpoint.
Yeah. The property and all. I'm also curious, I'm not sure Eric would know the answers to this, but oftentimes when you do a facility like this, you have to, retrofit is the right word, but you have to put in the certain thing. And the way there's coding and all of this stuff and licensing and all that, it becomes very expensive to readapt an existing building as opposed to just building from scratch. But if the property value to start with is extremely high, then that probably counters those costs.
Yes, and we have been reaching out to Mayor Whitmire. We're going to try to get him on, and you all can ask questions directly to the mayor, and he'll tell us more about his plans.
Eric, thank you very much for sharing with us. Quickly today just happens to be TV talk show host day.
Happy TV talk show. Well, I guess we're YouTube
talk show. Well, we'll celebrate anyway. It's also Croc Day, so put on those Crocs, celebrate Crocs. TV talk show hosts, and we'll be back in just a little bit.
That's right. Coming up on Hello Houston, President and CEO of Gulf Coast Blood, Nikhil Nayak, will tell us about how blood donations are being used for medical research. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Want to binge All Creatures Great and Small, catch up on Nova, or revisit Ken Burns' documentaries? You can with PBS Passport. With a gift of $5 or more per month to Houston Public Media, you'll get access to PBS Passport that lets you watch your favorite programs anytime you want. Support the programs you love and enjoy them on your own schedule with PBS Passport. Make your gift now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
HoustonPublicMedia.org.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. once said he took so many vitamins he couldn't remember them all. Around 75% of Americans take a dietary supplement. Now the secretary, who champions health alternatives, is pushing to rein in a largely unregulated market. What you need to know next time you browse the supplement section. Taking our vitamins next time on 1A.
Today at 2 p.m. here on News 88.7.
Support comes from the Shepherd School of Music at Rice University, presenting its 50th anniversary gala concert with Sasha Cook and the Shepherd Orchestra, Saturday, November 8th in Stewed Concert Hall. Tickets at music.rice.edu.
I'm sitting packing up our kitchen, I'm holding the silverware, and I'm sobbing. Everything in my apartment is my Grandpa Bernie's. His record collection, my dishes, my love of food, my love of music, my first cup of coffee, my first hot dog. And now I have to leave it.
Join us for Stories of the Lost and Found. That's next time on the Moth Radio Hour from PRX.
2 o'clock on Saturday here on News 88.7.
Support comes from the Houston Ballet, presenting Stanton Welch's The Nutcracker, a holiday tradition. Clara and the Characters, intricate sets, and new discoveries return to the Wortham November 28th to December 28th. Tickets at houstonballet.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Houston's own Gulf Coast Blood is one of the nation's largest community blood centers, and they have launched a new initiative enabling donations to fuel medical research from cancer and Alzheimer's to regenerative medicine and genetic disorders. At the same time, the organization marks its 50th anniversary of service to our region. Joining us now to discuss this milestone, the power of blood for research, and how you can join this effort is Nikhil Nayak, the president and CEO of Gulf Coast Blood. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ernie. Thank you, Celeste, for having me on.
If you'd like to join the conversation, you know how to do it. Call or text 713-440-8870.
Well, let's just start with congratulations. 50th anniversary. That's a major milestone. How are you all receiving this? How does it feel to be providing this type of resource to Houstonians for this long?
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. For 50 years, we've been a real integral part of the Texas Medical Center and this Houston community. For 50 years, we've been supplying the blood that the patients in our community desperately need. And it comes from on the backs of the millions and millions over time of volunteer donors in our country and in the Houston community that come in and donate their blood and their time to help patients.
Before we get into all of the cool things that can happen with this blood now and how we could be using it as opposed to just refilling our other bodies, talk to me a little bit about the donation process and where we are as a community right now as far as blood shortages and the need and all of that.
Yeah, no, I think it actually takes, we always say this, for our Houston community and the hospitals that we serve in this community, which is across 26 counties and 170 hospitals.
Wow.
Yeah, so it requires about 1,000 donations a day for us to sustain the blood supply. I know that sounds like people don't realize it, but one person that walks in, we need 1,000 of those. And we actually have 18 locations across that entire community. We have about 7,000 blood drives that we do annually. So we have ways for people to be able to come in and help with
on
those
average, you're saying you need about 1,000 a day. How many do we on average get right
So we luckily right now we're at a place where we're just around that. So
good.
people have been doing a great job of bringing that in. However, that can always change.
Sorry, go ahead. No.
No, I say that can always change because you have one big event or over time. What people don't realize, the blood donations don't always go to when there's a tragic event and we need something acutely. It's all those chronic patients, and I'll get into this later, but a cancer patient, for example, out of the entire U.S. blood supply, about 25% or more of our blood supply goes for cancer patients. I don't think people realize that.
And real quick, just one more thing. When you donate, how long does that blood last?
So if you're talking about, there's different components to the blood. Okay. The blood that most people need for the immediate transfusions is the red blood cell, and that is roughly about 42 days. So it has to move
Got to
through.
keep a system going.
Got to
It's not
keep
like
a system
you can
going.
bank it all for years.
Exactly. Plasma can be frozen, but that's used for various components. Platelets are the key. A lot of times. So in Houston right now, we could use, especially for the various donors out there, we need platelets. And platelets are used typically for, as far as the blood goes, it works in the coagulation or when you have something bleed so somebody doesn't bleed out. It helps in the clotting process. And those typically 3 to 5 days of actual time. And so we need to turn it around.
Is it the same process of when you're
you
going
just
to
get
donate
poked
platelets?
and then you get a cookie?
So simply put,
Juice.
Simply put, we try to create an environment for our donors to have the most comfortable environment, right? So when a person walks in, the needle goes in the arm, and we have highly trained and compassionate phlebotomists. We do an amazing job. We always get a lot of great feedback about our phlebotomists. And yes, when the needle goes in, the difference is what people are used to is the whole blood process. It usually lasts about, once the needle's in the arm, 10 to 15 to 20 minutes max. And we take what people call a pint of blood. Now, we have to take that pint and it gets processed out, separated into its parts, the platelets, plasma. Other ways that we found it to be much more efficient, also for the whole process and for what hospitals need, is something called automation or apheresis. It's when a donor sits in the chair and we put the needle in the arm, but now we have machines that separate out the parts right then. So we take the parts we need and what the patients need, and the other components get put back into the donor. So they can actually donate more often, and that they actually like that. It takes a little longer. In some case, the longest one is the platelet procedure, and that can be anywhere up to 75 to 90 minutes long. But donors are willing to do that because they know that's what helps, and they can actually come back every 2 weeks to be able to donate that.
But do they still get a cookie or juice?
They not only get a cookie and juice, we've actually made a lot of updates to what we're trying to be the most donor-centric, data-smart blood organization in the country. And so what we've started to do in 1425 La Concha Lane, we've actually opened our new donor center. It's modernized. It's based on donor feedback. The donors have told us what they'd like to see. Because remember, they're not patients. This shouldn't be a sterile environment.
Right.
We've created a more spa-like environment for them because it's comfortable. And there's reasons for that. Not only do we want them to have a good experience when they go there. Cookies are coming, Ernie.
Okay, you know
so we got that. They sit in comfortable massage chairs. We actually, there's chairs where they actually get a little bit of like the massage and compression because applied muscle tension is important for not allowing cramping and not having like those, fainting, the dizziness. And then afterwards, we need them to stay. And many times donors are like, we did our part, we got to go. Don't worry, I've done this many times, I'm good. However, we need them to stay to ensure everything was great. We need them to rehydrate. We need them to replenish the salts that they would have lost in the donation. So we've put in bevy machines that make it a lot more, easy for the donor to say, oh, now I like these type of electrolytes. And it helps us help them. We want them to be safe. And so at the end of it, cookies are there.
Okay.
The cookies are there, but they also got a massage, they got a nice beverage, and they got a chance to, really spend some time with the aromatherapy and everything else there. And so we hope that makes them come back more often.
Yeah, and Nikhil, we've talked about, the donation process. Talk to us a little bit about the recipients and the different people that are getting these and the different reasons they're receiving this type of donation.
Yeah, no, so that's actually the crux of what we're doing for the next 50 years. Our vision is really to become a way to expand our mission. Our mission has always been to help our patients in the community, and it's always been with transfusion. Why we talk about the research is because you think about the patients at the end. The reason that our volunteer donors are coming in is to help patients, and the patients get that immediate help with the transfusion, and now with research, our donors can help them actually get cures. The best example are those patients suffering from cancer, immunotherapy, sometimes Alzheimer's disease everywhere. I love giving the cancer therapy example because, like I told you before, the statistic that over 25% of our blood supply gets used for cancer patients. They don't realize when a cancer patient's going through the chemotherapy, their hemoglobin levels, everything gets impacted, and oftentimes they have to go in for blood transfusions, chronic ones, routinely. So that means they're coming in every so often to get a blood transfusion. Now, on top of that, we always say it's great. We're helping these cancer patients make it through their treatment. But what if we could actually help them find a cure? Wow. And so that's what this does. And so the process for a donor walking in is, even if you just donated your normal blood that you would for the transfusion, you can opt in to say, yeah, I'd like to help a patient for research. And none of this, it's all, consented, and we take transparency very, very seriously, and the donor knows exactly what we're going to use it for. So now when a donor comes in, they'll take currently 2 tubes extra so we can test the blood. We also have to make sure that it's safe, it's potent, and that we have a safe blood supply, right? So we do those. Now all we would do is take an extra tube. So it takes no real time beyond that, and somebody could be helping that cancer patient, that Alzheimer's patient, some loved one that they know is suffering from something, they'll be able to help them out as well.
So take me in a little bit more into this new movement of blood, not just for donations and transfusions, but for research and science and cures of medicine. How does giving that blood that we give help in those regards?
Yeah, so the blood, I told you, has its components, right? Yeah. And so in many cases, I mentioned the 3 components, the red blood cells, the platelet, the plasma. There's another really valuable component in there. It's the white blood cell. It's what we think of that always fights our infections and just runs to the spot of where we need the help. And so now the white blood cells, what we're able to do actually, so in our cell therapy side, for example, a donor comes in, and when they donate, we're able to take out just the white blood cells. We call that a leukopak. It's a real concentrated.
It's sounding like you don't have a lot to put back into these folks earlier. You said what you don't need. It sounds like you're finding a way to use it all.
We need it all, and that's part of the reason why, is these leukopaks are so powerful. And so researchers are able to take these and turn them into many of the things, people might read up on the different treatments happening right now, the CAR T, and they hear all these different terms for cancer, coming up with cures for cancer. That all starts with blood. It all starts with the white blood cells. And so that's what we want to try to position it. And for that donor walking in, I'm one of those. Sometimes I walk in, and for medications I'm on, or somewhere a donor may have traveled, whatever reason, they can't donate for transfusion that day, and they get turned away, or what we call in the industry deferred. We hate that term because they want to help, we want them to help. And so what we're doing now is something that we're actually working on, is a no donor left behind. That's where it all came from. So the idea is we have patients that have a need. We have donors who want to help, but they can't help for transfusion that day. Well, guess what? If they can't donate a transfusible unit, they can donate a tube for research, and they'll be able to still help. And there's patients in need.
Talk to me a little bit about, and I know I want to get back into the science, but when we're talking about the donors, who can't donate? I remember hearing something, if you had hepatitis in college, you can't donate
tattoos.
Ever. Or tattoos.
I always heard tattoos.
If you were gay, you couldn't give because of fear of HIV back in the 80s. Where are we at with any of that?
So I would say the best way to keep up with all of it is at giveblood.org, where we have all of the different stipulations. For example, with the tattoos, there are, people used to think, I got a tattoo, I can't donate. Well, those rules have evolved over time. With tattoos, if you've had it done over, I think there's a certain point of wait after it, but if you've had it done at a registered tattoo parlor, not in someone's garage or something like that.
Or in prison.
Or in prison, then you're qualified. It just has to be at a qualified location, and our staff will be able to help you determine that. From all of these other disease states, sometimes it was the gay individuals and others. We, again, go by behavioral. Not by how you define yourself, but by behaviors. If there are risky behaviors, the same way if somebody's a intravenous needle drug user or drug abuser that uses those, and we have to make sure that those behaviors will likely lead to products that are unsafe. So the same thing we say is that if there's one partner over a certain period of time, and that's what the FDA has helped, it's not like we make our own rules. It's the FDA that guides us.
Setting these regulations.
And as they turn.
What about the hepatitis?
So the hepatitis.
Still a no-no?
A no-no if it's, not over time. So we might be able to test. So I'll let, each and every single one of these, the best place to look as it evolves is our website.
See, I'm trying to say to everybody out there, one way or another, you can get in there.
You can get in there. And I would say that 62% of our population is actually eligible to donate. In the U.S., 62% is eligible. And when I say that, that means walking in the door. Now, if they told us that, hey, we have this going on, we visited these countries, I'm on these medications, I have these risky behaviors, we ask that in our intake questionnaire. So if they say that, some of them would get deferred. But in our new vision, it's some of those might still be useful. Even if you have a disease state, what we're working towards is you might be able to donate something for research to help find a cure for that disease. And so as we go forward, 62% would be eligible, so they could walk in the door. We'd like Ernie, I want them to come in to find out if they could donate.
And if I am deferred, can I still get the cookie?
You could still get the cookie because we're not going to defer you now. we'll
Because
give you
you'll
the
find a
option to
place
find.
to
Yeah, we'll give you an
And
option.
you
to
can
research.
opt into research.
Yes, you absolutely can. And you can opt in right there so that you're making a difference. And so that's our goal, is to be donor-centric. And so donors told us, I don't like being turned away. And we said, we don't want to turn you away. So how about we find a way for you to help?
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing. It sounds simple, but it's so effective because our donors are what means everything to us here. And that's what's
Sure.
kept us going for 50 years, and it'll be the next 50 years.
And it doesn't matter, if somebody's from Katy who comes in and works and says, I want to go to anybody can go any donation location.
Yeah, you can go to any donation location. Again, if you go to giveblood.org, you'll find 18 convenient locations. I'm sure it's again, Houston. I know the traffic, but at the same time, you will find a convenient location near you. Or in many cases, depending on your place of worship, if you're a high school student or a company that you work at in here, there's a good chance out of those 7,000 blood drives that we might be coming to a location near you as a blood drive. And you may find that to be the best way. For those that have never donated before, we want to show you how easy it is.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's what we want to just
so
come in and check
many
us
in our
out.
community love to give money to organizations and to help. Here's a way you can help without having to give money.
Absolutely.
You give something back to your community in just a different way.
Yeah, you're giving so much more.
Yeah.
You're giving a life.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great.
Nikhil Nayak is the president and CEO of Gulf Coast Blood. Nikhil, thank you again for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Celeste, Ernie, for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Coming up, a look at an art exhibit that will be featured at this year's Afrotech Conference. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
When someone decides to move to a new city, it's not necessarily the bright lights that draw them there.
We found since the pandemic especially that people are moving to improve their quality of life, to be closer to family, or to lower their cost of living.
Where highly skilled workers land and how cities can attract them. That's next time on Think.
Listen tonight at 10 o'clock here on News 88.7.
A toxic spill from a copper mine in Zambia, mining, climate justice, and the energy transition.
Climate change has to be addressed. That being said, when I talk to sources in South America or Africa, they see the global north's energy transition as green colonialism.
I'm Jenny Doring, and that's next time on Living on Earth from PRX.
Saturday at 10 o'clock on News 88.7.
I'm Christopher Kimball from Milk Street Radio. If you've ever carved a pumpkin for Halloween, you have Victorian pranksters to thank.
Under cover of darkness, they would wave this thing in front of a farmer's window or a neighbor's window, scare the daylights out of them, and then run away as fast as they could.
The unlikely origins of the jack-o'-lantern. That's coming up this week on Milk Street Radio from PRX.
Milk Street Radio is Sunday at 1 p.m. on News 88.7. And now back to Hello Houston. Call now, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org to get your comment in on today's topics. Here's Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
The Fragility of a Creative Mind, Rediscovering of Self is a women-led immersive art installation that will be on display during the annual Afrotech Conference next week. This immersive art installation invites the community to embark on a surrealist journey through faith, healing, and artistic expression, while also allowing guests to directly engage with the voices of Black women artists. To tell us more, we're joined now by the Fragility of a Creative Mind founder and creative director, India Dorsey. Hello. And producer Lynette Guidry.
Hey.
And event coordinator, Banke Mayowa.
Mayowa, yeah.
Thank you for being here today on Hello Houston. And if you'd like to join the conversation, if you have a question, you can give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870. I did nail it earlier.
She did.
She got
a little flustered there. She did incredible earlier, guys.
Thank you.
Before we dig all the way into it, I am unfamiliar with Afrotech. Which one of you wants to share a little of what that is, where it comes from, who it is, before we get into the actual exhibit? Who wants to
Lynette?
take it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, Lynette, you're up.
To put it in a nutshell, Afrotech is a week-long conference that actually the city of Houston will be hosting for the second time this year. Last year was the first year that Houston was able to host the conference. Usually they have them in Austin. I believe they had one in LA one year. But essentially it's an amazing week where so many tech creatives, people that are within the Black community, they come together for a week-long conference. And there's networking events, there's so many different opportunities where creators like ourselves are able to network with people all over the world.
It looks incredible. I mean, from what I understand, it's the world's largest Black tech conference.
It is.
I mean, you guys cover a lot, from technology to art, I mean, engineering. There is a lot.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what people can expect at the actual event.
I think the main thing that people can expect, essentially for what they can gain and experience with the entire event that we're producing for Afrotech Week, is not only being able to heavily influence art, but utilizing technology in a very unique and creative way. And that was essentially all of India's idea. You know, she was the one who really wanted to kind of merge those two realms together.
So take me into the combination of art and tech, which a lot of us would think are the two separate worlds.
Yeah.
Talk to me about bringing them together.
Yeah, so that was really fun and interesting for me to figure out. So the way that we'll be intersecting art and tech at the show, I have a different sound design that we'll be having, installations and things like that. We'll be incorporating lighting, like I said, sounds, and then just the whole immersive aspect of things. So as far as like the sound design that we'll have, it will follow the story that we're telling with the concepts that we'll have. So to kind of jump into the explanation of the installation itself, there will be four different concepts, right? And these concepts will be telling the story of myself as an artist, a point from where I was depressed, not really knowing who I was, completely lost, and then to the rediscovery of myself, to freedom. So with each part of the installation, me and the producer and sound engineer, his name is Justin, we sat down, we looked at each concept. So each concept, he looked at it like, okay, this is what it would sound like if it was music, if it was a tone. So we went through that, and we have each sound dedicated to each concept. So when you think about tech and art colliding, that's what you can expect from our installation in particular.
Do you feel that working in the project itself removes you from, personally, from the experience as you put it out for everyone, or did it pull you in closer to the experience?
That's a great question. That is a great question. So I went through everything. So this is my journey that I'm telling. But as I was realizing we're going through this and I'm working on it, I'm like, gosh, I'm actually not at the end of the journey just yet. I'm still at that stage 3 where it's like I'm falling into myself and realizing, oh gosh, like you're actually better than you thought you were. So I'm still like trying to figure things out as we're doing things. So I'm the founder, I'm the creative director, I'm helping with marketing, I'm doing all the things. So it's hard for me to stay in it, in the journey and like the artistry of things, because I'm working with so much stuff. But I appreciate moments like this where I'm able to talk about it, because it's able for me, it allows me to be able to draw out and then actually see everything that we're creating and be able to, I guess, look at the journey from the outside looking in.
And I ask that question because I think a lot of people think when you put technology into art, it suddenly distances you from the art. But in your case, it melds them together and brings you on the journey. Yeah, it melds them
together for sure.
Yeah.
You know, Banke, as the event coordinator, you are putting all of these components together. And, you know, we just heard about the artistry behind it. But where do you think AI and tech can really benefit Black communities, especially Black women?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, so not only am I the event coordinator, I'm also the marketing strategist, graphic designer, editor for some content that we've posted.
I'm guessing all of you wear multiple
We wear a
hats.
lot of
That's
hats.
getting the
Yeah.
feeling.
And on top of that, we have a mixer that that predates the art show itself, and I'm the founder for the mixer. So there's quite a bit of things that we're all doing, but I think technology in this whole process has been extremely important. Without it, without social media, without being able to utilize platforms like Canva and CapCut and all these different things in order to be able to tell the story before the guests actually experience it on ground, it's like we couldn't do any of this without technology. We couldn't do any of it without tapping into AI a little bit. Like we needed it in order to be able to move the needle of this whole event, everything. There's so many layers, guys.
Well, I guess I'm crossing out my next question. What do you do in your spare time? It doesn't sound like it. Lynette, talk to me a little bit. You say this is the second year.
Yeah.
And how technology is moving so fast. The world in which AI exists is so different today than it was a year ago.
Yes.
What are you finding are the changes in just 1 year?
Wow. Honestly, there's pros and cons to it, in my honest opinion, you know, but I would say some of the major changes that I've seen is the influence that we've utilized so much with AI has kind of been like an additional team member, essentially, you know,
Absolutely.
where, and that's the best way I could probably describe it. It's this massive influx of technology has expanded so vastly where if we have, you know, specific questions that are tailored to our exact needs, we're able to do that in a split of a second, you know, so seeing that, you know, just, it's funny because you think about it, we talk to our parents and they're like, well, you know, back in my day, we didn't have all these things. And it's like, you know, it's like when you think about it, it's so true. But looking within this past year, like the amount of AI that has influenced so many major businesses, and even, you know, with India wanting to start, you know, and influence her entire brand and image, AI has been such a huge shift and a huge change in a very positive way. But
can you talk about technology today, even this year, without it being influenced by AI? Does still technology exist separate from AI, or has it just overwhelmed?
In my honest opinion, I would say that it's completely immersed into one. And I would say when you think of technology, you can't help but think of AI, you know, and you kind of think of these two worlds that have collided. And I frankly think that AI is probably going to be more expansive and take over technology as the years to come.
Wow.
Yeah.
In India, you know, you talked about how you actually get to process a little bit of your art during times like this where you're talking about it. When people leave the exhibit, when they've gone through the fragility of the mind, of creative mind, rediscovery of self, what do you want them to feel?
I want them to feel everything that I felt in my journey of rediscovery.
Yeah.
So when you're at that first concept and it's about depression and somberness and all these things, I want the viewers to also feel that. I want them to take it personal and like, okay, I remember in this moment where I felt this. And then the second one where it's like, oh, I look in the mirror and I realize I am depressed. I'm no longer myself anymore. I want people to also feel like, oh, yeah, like I remember when I was 19 and I had to realize like, oh, I'm actually not who I think I am. It's time for a change. So I want them to feel everything, everything really, the whole journey. I want them to feel all of that.
Connecting with themselves,
and
right?
That's the reason why we have it as immersive as it is.
Yeah.
You mentioned, we've talked about it as audio landscapes, audio sounds, but then you referred to the participant in it as a viewer. Is it a visual experience or just an audio? I have not seen it, I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's a visual and audio experience.
Okay.
Yep, so it's all the senses. We're trying to touch all the senses as much as possible so we can make it as immersive as possible.
Do you feel a bit exposed?
Very.
I bet. India Dorsey is the founder and creative director of the Fragility of a Creative Mind. Lynette Guidry is the producer, and Banke Mayowa is the event coordinator. Thank you all for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you guys so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
The Fragility of a Creative Mind will be at the Afro Tech Conference on Friday, October 31st. Coming up, we'll continue diving into today's top stories. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Hi, I'm Manoush Zamarodi, and our world is changing so fast. On the TED Radio Hour, we invite innovators, researchers, and activists to unpack those changes with us.
Just about all companies are becoming technology companies or technology-enabled companies.
Listen to the TED Radio Hour from NPR every week for conversations that will deepen your understanding of our changing world.
The TED Radio Hour, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from Visit Galveston, highlighting fall events and festivals, including Island Oktoberfest, celebrating German culture, Arttoberfest, showcasing the island's fine arts, and more. Details at visitgalveston.com.
Partly cloudy skies. We have 83 degrees here at the University of Houston. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston, News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, U.S. cattle ranchers are criticizing President Trump for proposing to import beef from Argentina to bring down prices here in the States. We'll discuss this and more as we continue diving into today's top stories. I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman.
And I'm Ernie Manouse. We'll also be joined by TSU professor Michael Adams. We'll break down this year's local elections, from state propositions to the race for the 18th Congressional District.
Plus, we'll also share our weekly current obsessions, a rundown of things that are currently taking over all of our free time.
So share those with us. Give us a call or text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Remember, you can also watch us on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump's pardoned Binance founder Changpeng Zhao, the crypto billionaire, had pleaded guilty to failing to establish enough guardrails in the world's largest crypto exchange to block money from flowing to terrorists and other criminal groups. After pleading guilty in 2023, he was sentenced to 4 months in prison. The Trump White House today says the prosecution was part of a Biden administration war on cryptocurrency. Democratic lawmakers have raised ethics concerns about such pardons. The NBA Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat player Terry Rozier are among dozens of people arrested by federal agents in connection with an FBI investigation into 2 illegal gambling schemes. One involved bets on NBA games and the other involved underground poker games. NPR's Becky Sullivan reports.
Federal officials, including FBI Director Kash Patel, say that NBA insiders, such as Rozier, passed along confidential info to organized crime operations to place illegal bets on games.
This is the insider trading saga for the NBA. That's what this is.
Rozier was previously investigated by the NBA back in 2023 after the league was alerted to suspicious bets on a game of his that year. The league had cleared him of wrongdoing. In a statement to NPR, Rozier's lawyer said Rozier was not a gambler and that he, quote, looks forward to winning this fight. The second indictment alleges that crime groups used former NBA stars like Billups to lure unsuspecting victims into high-roller underground poker games, then cheated victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Becky Sullivan, NPR News.
The NBA has placed both players on leave from their teams and says it will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. Social media site Reddit is suing artificial intelligence company Perplexity over alleged data theft. NPR's Bobby Allen reports it's the latest legal battle over the controversial data collection practices of the AI industry.
Reddit says AI search engine Perplexity and other data scraping companies engage in a industrial-scale, unlawful collection of comments from millions of the site's users. Lawyers for Reddit compare the actions to would-be bank robbers who can't get into a vault, so they break into an armored truck instead. Perplexity denied the allegation, saying its practices remained principled and responsible. A wave of lawsuits are now playing out centered on how AI companies train chatbots to become so powerful. Vast corners of the internet have been scanned without permission, spurring copyright lawsuits from publications like the New York Times. In this case, Reddit says other AI chatbots have struck licensing deals, but Perplexity has refused. Bobby Allen, NPR News.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 123 points at last glance at 46,716. This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. One of the major players behind this gambling scheme is a Galveston native who played for the University of Houston basketball team. Houston Public Media's Michael Adkisson reports.
Damon Jones is one of just 3 people indicted in both of these cases of sports betting and illegal gambling. Jones was a combo guard for the University of Houston Cougars basketball team from 1994 to 1997. Prosecutors say he was instrumental to the illegal NBA betting scheme by providing non-public information about players to gamblers.
The non-public information included when specific players would be sitting out future games, or when they would pull themselves out early for purported injuries or illnesses. They relied on corrupt individuals, including Jones and Rozier.
Jones went undrafted in 1987. His longest stint was with the Cleveland Cavaliers for 3 years. I'm Michael Adkisson, News 88.7.
The Houston Food Bank says they will dip into their reserves to accommodate an anticipated increase in demand for its services, now that SNAP benefits are being curtailed. Federal workers are also on the cusp of a desperate situation as the government shutdown continues. Brian Green is with the Houston Food Bank.
When you just look at the numbers, if this goes deep into November, it's going to get overwhelming. On the 10th, that's when the federal workers got a partial check. On the 24th, no check. Okay, so that's in our area, that's about 50,000 households.
The 24th is tomorrow. Green says that Houston is at a slight advantage compared to other cities, perhaps because they have a stockpile of unused food meant for hurricane relief. And that big storm never came up this summer. Checking your weather, mostly sunny today with a slight chance of afternoon showers, a high of 86. Right now, it is mostly clear with a few clouds, partly cloudy, 72 degrees on the UH campus. I'm Tom Perumian. News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. Fisher's dedicated team of specialists provide resources on investing, retirement income, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back to the second hour of Hello Houston.
Hello there.
Hello. I thought that was such an interesting conversation about the Afro Tech Conference.
I didn't know about the conference.
Yeah.
Now they're in their second year. I think it's going to grow into something really wonderful. And just hearing, I love talking to artists. You probably picked that up on the show. And I just found them, really, it inspired in me.
Yes, they're young and they're innovators and they are moving.
Not like us, old, holding on.
I just kept sitting here and thinking, gosh, they are also beautiful and smart and wow.
It's funny when you say that. I think about often when I see young folks in the newsroom or young folks working, I think, I remember when I had that gumption, that run for that story. I've gotten comfortable, If the story comes to me, I'm not running as much as I used to.
Well, Ernie, speaking of things that you're going to be doing, talk to us about the special election coverage that you're going to be doing.
I think
it's not special election.
It's the election coverage on November 4th, Election Day. Remember, everyone, I want to remind you all, early voting is currently going on. It's going on now through October 31st. Mm-hmm. You may have heard of that day. That's Halloween. From 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., you can vote. And then November 4th is actual election day. I also want to mention the Houston voters. You can ride Metro for free to and from polling places during early voting and on election day. Keep that in mind. So go vote. We're trying to give you every opportunity. A lot of people can't vote on election day. Vote early. That's why it's there. Find a time. Make sure your voice is heard. Okay, back to what you asked. Get off my soapbox.
No, yeah.
So on election night, once the polls close, we're going to go live for 1 hour here, myself and Andrew Schneider, and then our newsroom is going to join in. Geronimo Cortina from Party Politics will be joining us to kind of look at what we know at between 8 and 9 o'clock. What's going on. Maybe some early advance winners will be coming up, people that are way ahead in the polls. We may be able to see how they're doing. We can explore more about what happened on Election Day and what's happening in the moment. And we'll have reporters out in the field. So it'll be a really wonderful opportunity to more fully experience Election Day and better understand what is about to happen as the results come in.
In the moment, locally.
Yeah, locally, looking at we've got some amazing races there. One, of course, we have an open city council seat. We've got all the propositions we've been talking. We're going to be talking about all of this in the next hour.
Yep.
But the fascinating thing that people keep not focusing on is the 18th congressional district seat. It's for the U.S. House of Representatives, where every seat matters as the balance of power is so close. Now, we know more than likely it's going to a Democratic voice, but who is going to be speaking for this community now that has been left out for so long? More than likely it's going to a runoff, but we want to know who those candidates are going to be, and we'll be right on it.
And that specific seat has been in the national news. There's been a lot of eyes on this seat, so it's going to be very interesting.
We talk about that Arizona woman who has not been representative, who has not been, what's the word? My mind's going blank. Has not been brought in, who has not been, whatever. But the woman who has not been sworn in yet as a member of the House. We also have one of those seats where there is no representation. So this is going sworn in. Thank you. Yes, it's there, Jim.
Yes.
So we'll be talking about all of that. And we'll be talking about that coming up on our show in just a few minutes. So stay tuned for that to get a better understanding of what you're going to be deciding when you go to the polls.
Yes, American cattle ranchers. But now we're going to jump into
our
topics.
Before jumping into it.
Yes, American cattle ranchers are turning against President Donald Trump over his plan to import Argentine beef, warning that the measure, which is meant to curb record high prices, will harm domestic producers. Argentina currently accounts for just over 2% of U.S. beef imports. Under existing rules, it can ship up to 20,000 metric tons a year at a lower tariff rate. The White House official told CNN the administration plans to raise that quota to 80,000 metric tons, effectively quadrupling the amount of Argentinian beef with low tariffs that can enter the United States. In a statement, White House spokesperson Anna Kelly said the president is keeping his promises to defend farmers and consumers. President Trump pledged to protect America's ranchers and deliver economic relief for everyday Americans. The administration is accomplishing both by expanding beef imports from Argentina to lower consumer prices in the short term while rolling out a new USDA initiative that will support ranchers and expand cattle herd sizes to keep prices lower in the long term. What are your thoughts? Should we import more Argentinian beef? Would you eat it to save money, or should we pay higher prices to support the Texas beef industry? You can join the conversation, 713-440-8870.
Over on YouTube, Alec Garza says, those cattle ranchers have a beef with Trump. Laugh out loud. I have a beef with it. I think it's kind of so full disclosure, I don't know all the ins and outs of this. I don't follow the beef markets. I'm not an expert in this area, or many of them. But in this case, it seems as though inflation and costs have all gone up, leading our cattle ranchers, U.S. cattle ranchers, to have to put a premium price on their product. So to offset this higher cost of beef, the president is going to subsidize another country to bring in their beef, which will sell at a lower price, which will undercut our own beef. And I know they say it's temporary while they get them in K. It seems like there's a bigger problem at home we need to be dealing with, which is this inflation. And this is the problem that tariffs lead to, is that to match these tariff prices, it raises the whole marketplace and costs of everything. And so I don't know that this is a fix, and I feel bad for our U.S. cattle ranchers.
Well, if the issue is to address beef prices at the grocery store, then the president needs to be focusing on trade deals that benefit agricultural markets.
Right.
Not imports, because it feels like that is the opposite of what essentially he would be wanting to do. And to me, it makes no sense. Why would the U.S. commit billions of dollars to boost the economy of Argentina or any foreign country when thousands of American farmers are suffering?
Right. And we're seeing that. Actually, if you've got a thought, if you can guide us through this conversation or shed some light, give us a call at 713-440-8870. No, I just wanted to remind them.
We're starting to see the effects, and I think that we're starting to see the effects in multiple industries of an administration that interferes, again, in multiple industries without fully understanding the market.
Right.
And I don't understand how this is putting America first. It feels less and less. I mean, that is something that President Trump vowed to do, and it seems like that is not putting America first.
I think, like you said, if you bring in somebody else's product at a lower price than what the U.S. can produce that product, it hurts the U.S. production of it. But, and the consumer part of it is, U.S. production in most cases costs more than foreign production because we have a higher cost of living, we pay better wages, we have a higher socioeconomic level. So how does it work to then raise everyone's prices? The tariffs raise the prices of imports. The local prices are already higher. Just by lifting everyone else's prices to make it more competitive hurts the consumer at the end of the day. I can see how it helps some industry. In this case, they're actively undercutting the higher price of U.S. beef. And is there an opportunity for U.S. beef to lower the price of beef without getting then also major subsidies?
Which you say the keyword opportunity. And so then I have to ask myself, what is the deal or the opportunity between President Trump and Argentina? And why is it that he's deciding to bail out Argentina? But again, 713-440-8870. Anne from Atascocita is on the line. Anne, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Thanks so much. I grew up a farmer's daughter, and back in the 60s, they were paying farmers not to farm. The government was doing this. Horrible. My dad refused to take their money. He said he was a farmer. That's what he was going to do. So now I support local farmers. And to be totally honest, this one particular farm that I get my meat from has the most delicious meat, and it's competitive. It's cheaper than, pink slime at Walmart. And so why don't we support our local people and figure out a way to bring down all the costs instead of keep hiking the costs up?
Yeah,
and
it's not logical.
Yep, it's a very good point. Thank you for sharing that with us. And also, congrats to your dad for being a farmer first and foremost. America was built on the back of farmers and industry like that. Thank you, Ann, for calling. 713-440-8870. Let's go to Greg from Kingwood. Greg, your thoughts?
Farmers first and foremost. America was built.
Greg, you're sounding a little muffled there. Can we try?
It's his radio.
Oh, it's your radio. Greg, you there? You got to turn off the radio so you can hear us. We'll come back to Greg. We're going to go over to Rick right now from New Caney while they figure out Greg. Rick, what's on your mind?
Hello. I think we need to have a look at the meat packers. They're the ones that are really making all the money, and they have the most influence on the pricing. The ranchers don't do that. They just get whatever they're paid per pound for their beef. And that's all I have to say.
No, Rick, before you go, that's a good point. I don't understand, as I even said, I don't follow this industry closely. But if you can tell me a little bit, so if you had better meat packer prices, could the U.S. cattle ranchers compete with the price out of like an Argentina?
I don't know. It's possible, but wouldn't we be better off subsidizing our own ranchers as opposed to giving it to somebody from Argentina?
Good
Yes.
point, Rick. Thank you for calling, Rick from New Canaan. Let's circle back, see if Greg from Kingwood has been resolved. Greg, nope, we lost Greg.
But Anne from Atascocita, who just called in, talked about buying local. And I think more than ever, we are finding ourselves in positions where when you feel helpless or you feel frustrated, that's right, go to your farmer's market, support local businesses, support local farmers. And that part of that is educating yourself on who's close by,
Yeah, Mel Ranch on YouTube said, Rick is correct. Only 4 meatpacking facilities in the country.
Interesting. I
Like
think we
we
might
said.
need to do a deep dive into this.
Yeah, understand better.
Let's go to Ari from Clear Lake. Ari, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for the show. We appreciate you very much. My concern, the presidency has no expert Nobel-level person guiding the tariff program. This is a whimsical, centralized, made-up program that centralizes tariffs at the level of the presidency. It is a colossal mistake. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that, Ari. I'm also looking back at our YouTube, and we'll get back to Ari's comments. But Earl Grey T-Cat says, can we get a list of local farmers, please? That would be amazing. I would love to support local farms with local beef, pork, chicken, and eggs.
Yes, absolutely. We'll try to provide you guys that and do a deeper dive into this meatpacking situation as well. Understanding, and again, this is one of those things where here on Hello Houston, we try to provide different perspective and also understanding. We ourselves are trying to understand this.
Let's find out what Shannon understands from Northwest Houston. Shannon, talk to us. What's on your mind?
Okay. Well, everything that Trump does is basically for retribution. It's not really to help America. So, like looking into, I know that Walmart has gotten their own meat packing facility, and they do like 1,500 head of cattle per day. So it's a new venture that they've embarked on. So I'm wondering, what is his beef with Walmart now, or is there something there? The reason why he's doing that is to like play some kind of weird deal with Walmart. Maybe they're upset at him with the tariffs in the first place. I don't know.
Yeah.
But nothing that's helping us, and none of anything he does makes sense unless you look at it through like the lens of retribution, and then you can figure out what he's really doing.
Shannon, thank you very much for those comments. It's interesting, and it's a point we come back to quite often, at least I do on the show, is the fact that we don't ever really have a clear picture of what is motivating decisions and what makes things happen, because the mix of satire, I'm doing air quotes, comedy, the reactions, the offhanded remarks, the movements in policy, all I think lead to a point where your electorate doesn't really fully know what reality is anymore. What is the purpose behind this? And a policy can be stated and given one day and changed the next. And I think that is ultimately what's most dangerous right now, because we don't have stability in thought and idea, or at least it's not shared with us in a way. Now, some could argue back it's done intentionally because there is an idea of what's going on, but they want a smokescreen. Others will say it's chaos, and chaos is what leads the day today, or it's impulse is what's leading it. So it does, and it leads to people like Shannon questioning what is the motivation behind movements and plans that happen.
That's right. 713-440-8870. You're listening to Hello Houston. Paul is on the line from Navasota. Paul, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hey, how are y'all doing this afternoon?
We're doing well. What's on your mind, Paul?
So I was just going to kind of bring you in a little bit on the beef industry. So when you buy beef at the store, you're on average the 7th owner of that beef, and that is broken up into several different people along the way. The cattle industry in Texas is not vertically integrated like your poultry houses, where they are born and raised and sold all from one owner, or the pork industry. It relies on lots of small producers throughout the country who sell that beef. So it gets sold. So typically you raise a calf. That's called the cow-calf production. They sell a calf to what's called a stocker. That stocker guy gets that calf on feed, and then he sells it to a feedlot. The feedlot then raises that calf up to be the killing weight, which is typically about 1,400 to 1,600 pounds these days, and then they go to the packer. The packer then cuts the meat up in the way that you want it, and then it gets sold to the supermarket, and then it goes to you. Wow. So it is a very complicated process. Mm-hmm. The reason the prices are as high as they are currently is we have urban sprawl. I don't know if you guys have checked the land prices lately, but if you want to go ranch, you can't afford to ranch because of the cost of land and the fact that everybody's developing it. The other part is we have people leaving the agricultural sector at record levels. Most families, most guys who are raising cattle right now are 65 years of age, and their kids do not want to come back and do that work. Mm-hmm. They work for corporate. They have their 401k. They don't want to do that. And that's not a criticism. That's just a fact. Mm-hmm. The reason I think that Trump is doing this is because he is trying to impact the actual general public and to make it look like it's like the product is cheaper. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't know whether that's right or that's wrong, but it is a much, much, much more complicated issue than just he's trying to undercut farmers. The issue is that cattle are worth so much right now that people are not retaining their heifers. Those are female cattle that have not been bred. If they're not retaining heifers, then you cannot expand the cow herd. And a heifer is worth so much money right now in the auction barn to go into meat production that there's not a reason to keep her. So it's super complicated, but I think it's multifactorial. And the big issue is the cost of land and the fact that people don't want to do agriculture. And it's great if you have a farmer's market and you want to go buy some, boutique beef from that farmer's market, but that is not going to feed the world. And those are ribeyes and those are steaks, and people don't understand. When you kill a cow, there's a whole lot of meat that is not a ribeye and is not a sirloin. There, you got your tongue, you've got your barbacoa, you've got your ribs, all of that stuff goes into what's called the grind, and that is what becomes ground beef. So all those cuts that people don't want to typically eat, they get ground up, and that's what's ground beef. That's how you get your hamburgers, and that's the number one product that people buy in the grocery store from beef is ground beef.
So, Paul, quick question for you. Thank you, one, for calling in and helping us better understand this. It seems like you have a good grasp on this industry. Question for you, but just for most of us that are curious, how do you think President Trump could really support cattle farmers?
Well, you can make more land and you can make it cheaper, and that's not going to happen. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to put through a bill to incentivize ranchers to retain heifers, and that will expand the herd. But when you see 500 acres or 1,000 acres and it's getting cut up into 20-acre plots or 5-acre plots, and I'm not trying. I don't have a dog in this fight, but I'm saying everybody wants to think that they're a rancher. The average cattle herd size in the state of Texas is 20 cows. So it is not this big, manufactured 5,000 head thing that people think it is. It is lots and lots of small producers. That is the bread and butter of the cattle industry in Texas. So, I think finding some sort of incentive or the market's going to correct itself. And as far as the packers making too much money, that was the case about 3 years ago. They were just raking in the dough. Right now, they're actually losing money every month because the cattle prices are so high, and they have to keep, they've got people that are on staff. They have this huge infrastructure. They're set to kill, 20 or 30,000 cows a day. There's a huge infrastructure cost there, and there's discussion that one of those packers may close. And so, there's lots of places you can buy your beef, but there's only 4 packers in the U.S. So that would be a big problem, and that would actually drive some of the price up, I think, even more.
Wow.
Paul, thank you very much for that. And I think they're going to try and keep you online and get your contact if they don't just grab you. So don't hang up right away, but we're going to thank you at this point. Thank you for calling in.
Paul of Navasota, thanks for calling in. And coming up on Hello Houston, TSU professor Michael Adams will break down this year's local elections, from state propositions to the race for the 18th congressional district. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Bob Maniger from the Ed and Jean Matthews Foundation. PBS has been a part of our family for generations, and we are proud supporters of Houston Public Media. From PBS Kids programming that supports children and their parents to PBS NewsHour that we rely on to learn about what's going on in our world. Your support keeps PBS available for our community across Greater Houston. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
On the next Science Friday, for the first time, lab-grown salmon is on the menu in a handful of U.S. restaurants. What's the public's appetite for lab fish?
It was bright orange. My first thought was, oh my God, this is Nemo on a plate.
Talking with tastemakers about the future of food. That's on Science Friday from WNYC Studios.
Science Friday, 1 to 3 o'clock Friday afternoon on News 88.7.
Look at how women lived in ancient Pompeii.
And you can learn about the various aspects of femininity 2,000 years ago.
Explore the lesser-known Greek isles like Nasiros.
You can imagine staying in these small villages and you can have a view of the volcano from your terrace.
And hear what's extra quirky about Ireland.
Here in Ireland, we do have the Loch Bee monster.
On the next Travel with Rick Steves.
Listen Saturday morning at 6 here on News 88.7.
I'm Jesse Thorne. You want some real, insightful conversations about where art comes from? Well, Bullseye has you covered, as long as you don't mind a little bit of ridiculousness.
Y'all was like really judging me though.
They sniffed it out. They sniffed out that I was weird.
I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna sit, just like in the movies.
Listen, learn, laugh. Bullseye from Maximum Fun and NPR.
Bullseye, Thursdays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
There is a lot to unpack in this year's local elections, from state propositions to the race for the 18th Congressional District. To help break it down with us is, for all the Houston area voters, the things you should know now that early voting is underway, is Michael Adams, director of the Masters of Public Affairs graduate program at Texas Southern University's School of Public Affairs. Michael, welcome to Hello Houston.
And thank you for having me, Ernest.
Okay, you're going to help us break through all this, but if you're listening right now and you've got questions, concerns, issues you'd like to ask, give us a call or text 713-440-8870. Celeste and I were talking about this, and with all the coverage we have been doing, and as I opted and say that, and Anise Parker jumping into the judge race so early, I think a lot of people are confused. What races are happening now? Are we with state senators? Is there a judge race? Neither of those are on this ballot. Those are coming later.
Yes.
We're dealing with the 18th and with a city council seat and with all these propositions.
And we also have 16 candidates vying for the Sylvester Turner's former seat. Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
What should voters know? Where would you start this conversation?
I would start particularly, my expertise is on the 18th Congressional District. I'll start there first, and we can talk about the at-large city election. That happened because another candidate, we had a city council member to step down, and so that opened up an at-large city council seat. This is really interesting because there are a number of factors that are looming over this special district election. One, I would describe it as a redistricting shadow. We've had mid-decade redistricting, and it's going to be very interesting because you have a special election where you mentioned there's 16 candidates running, and the reality, if you look at the scheduling, what could take place, this particular district may have been without representation for almost a year, specifically about 250 days. If you go back, let's look at the timeline first. The election will be held on November the 4th. Now, technically, the runoff would be scheduled for December the 13th, but that likely will not happen because there's a law passed by Congress called the MOVE Act, and it stands for the Military and Overseas Voter Empowerment Act, and you have to have 45 days for canvassing. So you're talking about going in, if you have the runoff with the 13th, it would go over into January or even late February before you will know who will elect, who would represent the 18th congressional district. So the timeline is there. Redistricting is another implication of that, because at the same time where the candidates will be running in the runoff election, the two candidates, they will have to make a decision whether or not they're going to run in the primary, whether they're going to run again for 18, or they may choose whoever's the winner to run for one of the other congressional districts in the Houston area, namely District 29 may be attractive. So you have a lot of moving pieces right there.
Let me for the audience sake to understand. So just to remind them, the 18th is the seat that was for many years Sheila Jackson Lee's. Then Sylvester Turner was in that seat and he passed away. And so this is to fill the remainder of his term, which would expire when?
It would be up in 2026. All right.
So if they don't get sworn in until February or so, we're talking just a few months in this seat. Meanwhile, this is one of the districts that's going to be redistricted, we assume. So when this would come back up after those 6 months or so that they are serving, they would be running for a different district makeup already.
You're correct, because the people who live in the district will be totally different. And so the voters on November the 4th could be voting to elect someone, and come the spring, that may be representing a totally different constituency. They may not even be in that district.
And they would already be in another campaign running for the seat in that following November.
Absolutely, that's correct. And then the other factor is what happens to Congressman Al Green.
Right.
His district has been totally redrawn, District 9 that he currently represents. And he has hinted that he may even run for the Congressional District 18 in the spring in the March primary. And so that's going to be really interesting. You have someone who has been in Congress for 20 years. He has name appeal, name recognition, and also 2/3 of the people in his current district will be moved or packed, if you will, into the new Congressional 18th district. And so whoever wins and whoever is sworn in for the 6 months may have to make a decision. Do you want to really run against a 20-year person, an incumbent? But it also raises some questions about generational transition.
Right, which Professor Adams, I just have a quick question regarding Representative Al Green. Like you mentioned, if he decided to go from the 9th district, which is now solidly Republican, and covers almost none of the same territory, the majority of his current constituents and his home would then be in the 18th district. Do you think from a political strategy that's a no-brainer? That's smart of him to do that? And do you feel that it would be the right move for the 18th district essentially to see that happen?
I think he holds the cards. That would be my response.
Sure.
To that in terms of whether it's right or not. But clearly it creates an interesting puzzle for the residents of the current district and also for the district where the new map will represent. And it's going to be really interesting and a lot of confusion for the voters that already, because when in the primary, they won't be voting, some of them, in the current 18th congressional district. They may have been moved out. They may have been put in the 29th, or they could still be in the 9th district.
Let me ask you this then. With everything we've just talked about and the uniqueness of this seat and the future of this seat and the short time of representing, and we've got 16 declared candidates for this seat, what do you think is the motivation for someone to want to get this seat right now? Is it to get their name out there so that they can prepare to run again? Is it that they really just want to represent this district for such a short period of time? What do you think motivates? And also, there are so many who are not viable candidates in the fact that they haven't caught on, they don't have the wind in their sails. What makes this many people want to be in this race?
Well, again, the requirements, if you meet the age requirements, whatever you're an American citizen, you can run for Congress. So it's an open process. And so we don't weed out people, everybody can run. But realistically, We could say that there are some top-tier candidates. Some of them have been perennial candidates. Some of them already hold elected positions. And if you look at I would label as the four candidate or the six candidates, and my good friends and colleagues at the Hobby School have done some recent polling, and they have looked at favorability and some of the other things. So namely, the current county attorney, Kristen Menifee, Amanda Edwards, who has held an at-large city council seat. She also made a failed run for a U.S. Senate seat. And then you have Yolanda Jones, who is a current member of the Texas State Legislature. So they're well known. They've been around. And Montiel, who is a Republican, for example, and she's run for Congress before. And so you list these as some of the top tier candidates. And then we have Isaiah Martin, who's a kind of Gen Z advocate. And I think one of the issues here is it may be the messaging, for example. If you wouldn't know it, and I think some of the polls that the Hobby School has done has listed or ordered the policy preferences, and civil rights and civil liberties seem to be at the top. And I think historically, this district, if you look at the legacy of Sheila Jackson Lee or Barbara Jordan, for example, they have always been advocates. And even Sylvester Turner, they have been advocates standing up for the little people and advocating on behalf of civil liberty and civil rights. And if you look at the current makeup of Congress and the disjointed Congress, or some people call it a do-nothing Congress, there's so much you can do. You really don't pass legislation, but you can serve as an advocate. And so if you listen to the messaging and those that have the money to do the advertisement that we see in prime time, they are positioning themselves as a foil to Donald Trump, and that they can advocate. They are fighters in this. So we've seen a lot of that. But we also have to understand that this is an urban district. It's in the core part of Houston. So you have all of the issues that plague big cities, whether it's the unhoused, whether they're economic issues or whatever. You don't see a lot of that. So here, I think they're banking on the fact that the electorate somehow is geared towards confrontational kinds of politics.
I guess, though, and I understand all of what you just said, it's just interesting to me that considering this uniqueness of this seat, that there's motivations behind running right now that are not necessarily just getting this seat. It's with the shifting and the districts coming, it's getting their names out there, it's getting recognition that, and when I look at the top tier candidates here, they all look like they are hungry for a future in politics to continue the future or the past they've had. So it looks like it's a bunch of big players who, even if they don't get this seat, they're just gearing up.
Yeah, and I think, and that's the issue. I think in the spring primary, if Al Green decides to get into the race, you will see this kind of generational kind of politics and the messaging and whatever. But Al Green would make the argument that, hey, I've been here for 20 years, and if the Democrats can recapture control of the House of Representatives, well, I got seniority, and we know that seniority will give him probably a chair of one of the major committees in Congress. So that type of legacy, so you have to be able to understand that as well. But again, the tragedy, and I don't know if I said it at the top, the last two sitting members of the 18th Congressional District passed away within 15 months of each other. So you have to talk about the generational movement or the transition of this district as well.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what I was going to ask you about. If you think that the people of the 18th district that is a part of their decision making when they're looking at who they're going to elect in this position, given the fact that they haven't had representation for almost a year.
Yeah, the reality of that in terms of the people who turn out, normally in terms of the African-American constituency in that district, are older African-American women. And so that's where I think will be the determining factors, because this is going to be a low turnout election as well.
You know, you do talk about being a low turnout election, and we know as they call them, off-year elections, when you don't have a presidential race, are always lower. Considering it is a U.S. House of Representatives seat, and it is such a pivotal U.S. Congress right now, and the balance is so important, is there anything that can be done to encourage more voting? Do you think people just are not paying attention, don't understand the significance of that seat, or are they just, they're just not coming out?
Yeah, well, and I think it's on the candidate to actually drive the voters, and certainly there's a notion of GOTV in terms of get out the vote, and I think every candidate they're going to be trying to get their people to the polls. In lieu of that, if you have money like a Menifee or Amanda Edwards, you can buy ads, but some of that is changing now, and I think within the Democratic Party, you're not going to win in terms of the messaging with Donald Trump because again, Teddy Roosevelt said it best. He has a bully pulpit, and so every day he can talk about himself. But what do you do if you are a candidate in this race? How do you win the attention game? And you almost have to be all over the place, not only on TV, you have to do the podcast, you have to speak to the voters. And I think that will be the determining factor. Or you create an incident like Isaiah Martin, for example, and whether or not it was intentional or it was meaningful during the redistricting hearings or whatever, but he did get some attention. So it's an attention game now that we see in terms of electoral politics. And I think we saw that in the last presidential election. You're on Joe Rogan or you're all over the place. Or the Breakfast Club.
Right.
With the sheer number of candidates you have running in this particular race, do you feel it frees up voters to really vote for what they really care about as opposed to looking at voting for a front runner? Because we definitely, if anyone was a betting man, we're going to a runoff in this. There's too many candidates not to. So does it free the voter to really be able to move away from the obvious choice and look a little deeper into the candidates and vote for what they believe in without feeling the sense of wasting a vote?
Well, I think you will always have independents, for example, people who are not swayed one way or the other. But I think in this particular election, there are going to be people driven to the polls based upon those top tier candidates who have been around a long time. They've run just about, if you look at Yolanda Jones, she's been on the school board, city council. She made a failed run for Harris County, I think, tax assessor collector, for example, but a perennial kind of candidate. And so these people are familiar with these folks. And again, in a low turnout election, it's just like running for Student Government Association president at a university or at a high school, for example. You get your people to the polls.
Yeah.
Do you think a candidate like Montiel a Republican candidate, has any kind of upper hand in this situation, given the dynamics and the changes? Do you think that there could be kind of this outlier that comes through?
It could be in terms of a low turnout, in terms of you look at that. The only other thing, I think there are 2 or 3 other people who have declared themselves as Republican, but being the only Republican, if she's able to get Republicans out to the polls, then she could be a kind of wild card, if you will. But that remains to be seen in a district that is heavily driven by Democratic turnout, and in particular, African-American voters.
I could see in a low turnout election where there's so many candidates that she could make it into a runoff, but I can't see in that district actually getting the seat itself. But once again, if it goes back to my original line of questioning, are a lot of these folks using this as a place to present themselves to get traction and get attention as we move into 2026?
Of course, they will not go away. Again,
they will not go away.
They will not go away. They are perennial candidates, as I said, right? Yeah. So they will be there. And the interesting thing in terms of that, if you look at the percentages now, in this kind of shell redistricting game, and some of the majority Latino districts, they're banking that they will go Republican. But if you look at the citizen voting age population, 29, for example, could be a district where one of these candidates, even the top tier, may choose to pivot and run for District 29 against Sylvia Garcia. And that's going to be interesting too, because that district could be represented by an African American if they turn out in terms of the vote. That looms over this election as well.
In just a couple of seconds, just to catch people up, where are we with the redistricting and the legal challenges to that?
Yeah, well, they've completed the hearings in El Paso. We're waiting on the judges to make a decision. And in this particular case, unlike most federal appeals that go to the circuit courts of appeals, this one will go directly to the U.S. Supreme Court. And so it would be up to the U.S. Supreme Court, one way or the other, if the maps are declared or overturned. We know that Attorney General Paxton in the state of Texas will automatically appeal, but also the voters have the right to appeal. But there's a case pending right now out of Louisiana, and some of the comments that have been made in the hearings by Judge Gorsuch, and I think Judge Roberts, going back to 2013 in the Shelby versus Holder case, looked at Section 2 or in terms of pre-clearance and other kinds of things, and whether or not race-based redistricting, how long does it exist? Is it infinite? All right. So with these kinds of questions, it's a great deal of uncertainty. And so I'm thinking that the maps, the mid-district maps probably will go forward.
Wow. Michael Adams is the director of the Master of Public Affairs graduate program at Texas Southern University's School of Public Affairs. Professor Adams, thank you for joining us today at Hello Houston.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Coming up, we're going to discuss our current obsessions. Please send in yours. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Hi, I'm Michael Schaefer. My partner Ellen and I have been proud supporters of public radio and TV for decades.
We really would be lost without our daily fix of unbiased national and local news, cultural programming, and great entertainment.
But with recent federal defunding, stations like Houston Public Media face real challenges.
Now's the time to step up.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org.
Thank you.
Recently on Wait, Wait, Paula Poundstone told us what happened when she ran out of candy last Halloween.
They kept coming, and so I just, opened the refrigerator and, I'd like take a big scoop of hummus and just flick it into Spider-Man's pillowcase.
Yeah. On Peter Sagal, we guarantee a treat for everyone on this week's show featuring Allie the Piper, the world's most electrifying bagpiper. Join us for the news quiz from NPR.
Listen Saturday and Sunday at 10 on News 88.7.
Next time on The Pulse, sociologist Mark Eaton was walking around a supposedly haunted hotel. He wasn't there for the ghosts. He was there to study ghost hunters and what motivates them. And then something really weird happened.
The woman who was standing just to my right suddenly disappeared from my peripheral vision and fell to the floor behind me.
Ghost hunting and why people do it.
It's The Pulse Sunday at 2 p.m. on News 88.7.
Hi, I'm John Donvan, host of Open to Debate, where we bring you open-minded discussions and debates about the issues affecting our lives. Everything from science and tech to politics, culture, and foreign policy. In our divided nation, we feel it's more important than ever for people to be open-minded, open to disagreement, and open to listening to the other side. Join me in being open to debate.
Listen Sunday at 10 p.m. on News 88.7.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back. Earlier we went through our headlines, and one of the headlines that we didn't get to that we're going to revisit right now was Fleet Week.
Yeah, I don't know that we have a whole lot to say about it, except we mentioned we would talk about it, and then we had comments about it come in. Houston's inaugural Fleet Week, a celebration of the U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard, has been postponed. Yes.
We also had one of the co-chairs on yesterday discussing about it and the excitement. So it does feel a bit of a...
Yeah, it was originally set for November 5th through the 12th, but it's going to be delayed due to the ongoing government shutdown, which is forcing military and city organizers to rethink the logistics. John Whitmire says he's disappointed, but it was necessary in order to deliver a first-class service when we do get to it, and a new date will be announced soon when city military leaders and partners have finalized their plans.
Yeah, it's looking like 2026 from what I understand. But we will keep you all posted. We'll continue to monitor when Fleet Week will be back, because that is going to be a fabulous way to honor our servicemen.
My question was going to be about that. And if you want to chime in, I'm curious about how you in your everyday life are being affected by the government shutdown. Have you felt it? Are you noticing it? Has it impacted your life, or is it business as usual? Give us a call. I'd love to know. 713-440-8870.
And now it's time for our current obsessions. It's the rundown of things that currently taking over all of our free time, the TV show that you binge at night.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know, all those things. And you can give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870. Some of those current obsessions have already been coming in. Let's look at YouTube. Okay, current obsessions. Mine, Dark Matter, an Apple TV show, sci-fi, so probably not Celeste's cup of tea. No, it is not my cup of tea. Thank you, my British computer guy. Knows me well. Time travel-y show about a professor who gets lost in a labyrinth of realities. My wife's is her porch goose. Porch goose? What's a porch goose?
I don't know. But getting lost in the labyrinth of realities feels like my daily life here. So thank you, my British computer guy, for sharing that with us. Then Jen in Clear Lake, her current obsession is golden hour. You know, it's that time when the sun is just setting. Just sitting in the golden light of the afternoon and sometimes taking pictures of it. It's very peaceful.
Yes.
Thank you, Jen.
I think we are all looking for a little bit of peace.
Oh, yeah.
During our day.
Yeah.
And Alex Garza photo. I'm a little late to the game, but my current obsession this week is K-pop Demon Hunters. The movie and soundtrack is a lot of fun. It is so great. I watched it a million times with my kids. I wasn't sure, based by the name K-pop Demon Hunters, if that was going to be appropriate for my 9-year-old, but I gotta say, the music is phenomenal.
I laugh because I had to come into your office and have you explain it to me. Because you went to a concert of it or something.
No, that's Disney's Zombies and Descendants.
Oh,
K-pop Demon Hunters is Netflix. It's about some, it's like a pop music. It's very cool. Anyway.
I was watching it the other day. And my mom was watching it with me. I had no idea what's going on. They're on a plane. I thought, is this Josie and the Pussycats? No, because everybody on the plane became demons.
Yes,
so
yes. K-pop Demon Hunters.
That was very interesting. They're the most popular costumes this year for Halloween.
Oh, totally.
I saw that on a report that came out. Okay, do you have a current obsession right now?
You know, I would say I've been single parenting, and no, I don't have anything this week. I apologize.
Your son is one of my current obsessions. He's here at the station today. I don't know if you've been watching in the cameras. He's popped in here a little bit. Little guy, adorable little guy, and so full of personality.
So full of personality.
Do love him. Okay, my current obsession outside of Philip. There is a song that came out, and I'm a little late on this. I think it's been out for about a month. It is Miley Cyrus. It's the song Secrets. What's fascinating about it is she does it with Lindsey Buckingham and Mick Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac. And yet I never thought about it, but her voice sounds so much like Stevie Nicks. And the song, obviously, whether produced, I didn't look into the credits, whether produced by Lindsey Buckingham or just his presence there, and then the drum riffs and such of Mick Fleetwood, it sounds like a Fleetwood Mac song, a brand new Fleetwood Mac song. And Miley, if I were Stevie Nicks and this were 20 years ago and Fleetwood Mac was still around and this came out, I'd be worrying for my job because she blends in beautifully. Give it a listen and see if you don't think it sounds... a friend, I always cut myself off when I'm talking. I've noticed that.
It's entertaining.
A friend of mine was listening to it and said, wow, Miley Cyrus is such a better vocalist than Stevie Nicks. We got into a fight over that, but I can see how some would go there. He thinks her voice is stronger and a better musician.
Interesting.
It's very
I'm going to have to check it out. Secrets.
Yeah.
And
by Miley Cyrus.
Noah Espinosa, 5616, HPM, and the conquest of truth is my obsession. You know what, Noah? Same. I feel like I've been doing a lot more reading. I'm on a conquest of truth as well with you. And my British computer guy, folks have taken to putting a goose outside the house, and they dress it up in festive outfits. My mother-in-law has one of those.
Let me help you there. You would say y'all. We from the north say folks.
Okay. Ooh, Cindy Bowling, 8163. Celeste, K-pop sing-alongs is in some theaters on November 1st. Check it out. I will definitely be going to that. I am going to check it out, Cindy. Thanks for letting us know about that. But, yeah.
Okay. We have one more I'm going to get to. My
30
current
seconds.
obsession. This is a text that came in. It's binging the PBS series Big Cats 24/7. In my view, the trusted and best reality show ever. My 7-year-old terrier mixed pup, Photon, likes to watch it too.
Big cats. I think I've seen that on my
He
passport.
seems fascinated by the images and sounds of lions, leopards, cheetahs. That's from Rich in Magnolia.
That's great.
So Richard shared his. A bunch of other people shared theirs. Remember, all week long, you can send them in to us. Just send them to talk@hellohouston.org, and we'll hold on to them until next week's Obsessions.
That's right. And that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you for watching and listening and engaging and calling in to Hello Houston. We will be back tomorrow with more conversations. This is News 88.7. Have a great Wednesday.
Bye.
Thursday.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
I'm Jesse Thorne. You want some real, insightful conversations about where art comes from? Well, Bullseye has you covered, as long as you don't mind a little bit of ridiculousness.
Y'all was like really judging me though.
They sniffed it out. They sniffed out that I was weird.
I was like, I don't know where I'm going to